They said Earth was finished, a burned-out rock left behind after the first orbital siege. The Empire's admirals laughed when they spoke of it. Primitive world, broken spirit, easy pickings. And maybe they were right in the beginning. I was there when the last council surrendered. Fleet command scattered, colonies fallen, outer defense fleets torn to shreds. We all ran or died. Me? I was a captain without a ship, a soldier without a war, until I got the call. It wasn't official. No fleet channels, no command codes, just an encrypted old world burst, routed through relic satellites nobody used anymore. Report to Black Anchorage, secure comms, no AI trace. I thought it was a joke, but I had nothing left to lose. The shuttle I borrowed barely held together as it crawled past debris fields and abandoned stations, deep into the shadow side of Saturn. That's where I found her. The Leviathan. No public records, no registry, no fleet tags, just a ship that shouldn't exist. A damn supercarrier, bigger than any dreadnought I'd ever served on. Built in secret, hidden under black budgets and rogue engineering corps before the war even started. No AI control. Manual systems, human crew only. She was Earth's last spit in the eye of the Empire, and now they wanted me to command her. I won't lie. When I first set foot on her deck, I thought the war had driven us all mad. The hangars were filled with old strike craft, retrofitted with illegal railguns and torpedoes. The engines hummed with experimental drives, barely tested. The crew? Half were deserters, mercs, even convicts who'd been pulled out of cryo with promises of amnesty or revenge. I asked the man in charge, a grizzled old spook named Commander Hawk, "Why me?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Because you're pissed off enough to fight, and smart enough not to get us all killed." Fair enough. It took weeks to get the crew combat ready. We trained in silence, no broadwave signals, no comms chatter, just in case the Empire's hunter drones picked us up. Every drill, every launch, every reactor cycle ran dark. The ship felt alive under my boots, hungry for battle, angry at being kept in the shadows so long. Word finally came down. The Empire's 7th Fleet was moving to take Europa Station, the last human foothold with working shipyards. If they took it, Earth's resistance would be ashes. Our orders were clear: hit them where they least expected it. I asked Hawk again, "Are we sure this thing can fight an Imperial fleet?" He just grinned. "Let's give them a bad day." Launch day came. I stood on the bridge, hands clenched on the rail as the Leviathan powered up. Silent until the last second, then the black space drives kicked. We burned hard through the outer system, masked by debris clouds and dead relay beacons. The Empire never saw us coming. Their fleet was arrayed in perfect formation around Europa, gleaming ships of gold and silver, sleek and arrogant. Flagships bristling with plasma lances and disintegrators. They didn't bother scanning for threats. Why would they? Earth was supposed to be crippled, until the Leviathan decloaked and fired. First salvo, rail slugs at relativistic speeds, punched through an Imperial battlecruiser, tearing it in half before their alarms even sounded. Our fighters screamed out of the bays, wave after wave, hitting carrier escorts and sensor frigates. The Empire's command net fractured, confused signals, captains yelling in the blind, ships swinging around too late. That's when I saw their flagship, a monstrous dreadnought, the Valiant Star, trying to realign its guns on us. I smiled coldly. "Bring us about. Target her engines, full barrage." What happened next would be remembered across the stars. "Bring us about. Target her engines, full barrage." The order left my mouth calm, controlled, but inside I was burning. The Valiant Star. I'd seen that ship once on a fleet broadcast when the war began. Back when Earth still had an official government. Back when we still pretended we could negotiate with the Empire. She was the pride of their core fleets. An Imperial dreadnought over 3 kilometers long, bristling with energy weapons, armored in titanium composites that no known human weapon could penetrate head-on. A floating symbol of Earth's humiliation. Now it was in my crosshairs. Helm, 5-degree pitch-up. Weapons, rail batteries 1 through 6, fire as they bear, I barked. Aye, Captain, came the tight reply from Lieutenant Ford on gunnery. He was an old spacer, beard shot through with gray, knuckles white on his console. The Leviathan groaned around us as inertial compensators struggled to keep up with the sudden maneuver. She wasn't some sleek Empire cruiser. She was a behemoth. Every move an effort, every course correction like wrestling a caged beast. But beneath her battered hull, she had teeth. First salvo away, Ford called. Through the reinforced viewport, I watched the kinetic slugs streak across the void, shimmering like needles of death against Europa's distant glow. No energy blooms, no flashy effects, just raw, cold velocity. The valiant star had just begun turning, her plasma lance turrets warming up, when the first slugs hit home. Direct strikes on her aft section. The dreadnought's shields flared, rippling under the impact. Then, to my satisfaction, failed entirely over a portion of her starboard engine nacelles. The second wave of slugs tore into exposed superstructure, igniting secondary explosions that rippled along the engine housing. Cheers erupted across my bridge. I allowed myself a grim smile, but there was no time to celebrate. Damage to target? I asked sharply. Ford's voice was clipped. 1 main drive disabled. Shields rotating frequencies. Enemy point defense waking up. They're mad now, Hawk said beside me, arms folded. They'll throw everything at us. Let them, I growled. Helm, maintain relative distance. Fighters, continue screening. Target any command and control nodes. Through the tactical holo, I could see the wider battlefield shifting. The rest of the Empire's fleet, nearly 30 ships strong, was scrambling to respond. Frigates and light cruisers peeled off to intercept our strike wings. A pair of enemy carriers launched fresh squadrons of drones. But the initial chaos we'd caused couldn't be undone. The valiant star was crippled, her formation shattered. And worse, for them, their comnet was fractured, overlapping conflicting orders rippling through their fleet. Our jamming suites were working overtime, feeding them false telemetry and ghost contacts. Still, I knew it wouldn't last. Once their captains got their bearings, they'd try to box us in. Even the Leviathan couldn't take on the entire 7th Fleet head-to-head. Report from engineering, my XO, Commander Holt, called out. Main drive holding at 80%. Forward shield generators cycling. Keep them online as long as possible, I said. Weapons, switch pattern. Alternate between kinetic and plasma rounds. Don't give their shields a stable frequency to lock on. Ford grunted. Aye. Another round of tremors rippled through the deck as our rail batteries hammered out another full volley. From my vantage, I watched 3 Imperial corvettes vaporize under sustained fire from our wing leaders. The debris fields were starting to clog local space, exactly what we needed. Empire frigates approaching Vector 317, Holt warned. Flanking attempt. Helm, adjust course 10 degrees starboard. Prepare lateral batteries. Leviathan's older hull gave her one odd advantage. Unlike modern Empire ships, designed for sleek forward combat, she was bristling with guns on every vector. We didn't have to turn to face our targets. We could just let them fly into the meat grinder. The flanking frigates came in fast, trying to skirt our main batteries. The first of them, ISS Strident, managed a clean missile run, slamming a spread of warheads against our port shields. Minor hull scorching, Holt reported. No penetrations. Return fire, I ordered. Broadside railguns roared. The Strident didn't get a second shot. It broke apart under kinetic impacts, venting crew and wreckage into the black. I caught Hawk's grin in the corner of my eye. They still don't know what they're dealing with. No, I agreed. But they will. Just then, a priority alert flashed across the hollow. Empire reinforcements were inbound, another heavy cruiser group burning in system from the outer patrol perimeter. We were running out of time. "Status of the Valiant Star?" I demanded. Ford's fingers flew across his console. "Still operational. Minimal maneuvering. Main guns powering. They'll try to snipe us with long-range plasma." I made my choice. "Prepare all strike bombers for deep run. Target Valiant Star's main batteries and bridge module." Hawk raised a brow. "You sure about that? We'll lose birds." I met his gaze. "Better to bleed now than let them box us later. We take her out, the rest of their fleet hesitates." "Fair enough," he said grimly, then leaned into the comm. "Flight deck, prepare Blackwing for deep strike." Moments later, I heard the launch sequence echo through the ship. A deep tremor as bombers streaked out of our ventral hangars, heavy assault craft loaded with fusion-tipped torpedoes. Through the viewport, I tracked their course, weaving through debris clouds, using broken hulks as cover. Empire point defense lit up, trying to swat them down. But our pilots were veterans, rogues, mercs, survivors, men with scores to settle. The first wave punched through, torpedoes slamming into Valiant Star's upper hull. One direct hit on a plasma lance turret turned the forward quarter into a molten crater. The second wave followed. Several craft lost to flak, but enough got through. Then the big one landed. A single torpedo streaked down, hit just forward of the bridge module, and detonated. For a moment, space itself seemed to ripple from the force. The dreadnought's bridge superstructure vanished in a cloud of expanding gas and debris. The cheers on my bridge this time were thunderous. "Confirmed," Holt yelled. "Bridge destroyed. Valiant Star adrift." "Good," I said, voice flat despite my racing heart. "Signal all wings. Rally and prepare for extraction vector." "Captain," Hawk said quietly, nodding at the tactical display. I saw it. The rest of the Empire fleet was hesitating. Their flagship gone, command structure in chaos, half their force still tangled with our fighter screens. The opening was there, but if we stayed too long, those reinforcements would trap us. "Helm, set course for extraction. Plot jump path through local debris fields," I ordered, "and prep ECM bursts." Ford glanced back. "We're not finishing them off?" "Not today," I said grimly. "Our job was to break them. We've done that." I locked eyes with Hawk. "And we've sent a message." The Leviathan began to turn, massive drives rumbling as we threaded through the wreckage. Fighter wings fell back in tight escort formation. Behind us, the Empire's vaunted 7th Fleet hung in disarray. Leaderless, bleeding, stunned. I didn't speak again until our drive bubble engaged, and the stars stretched into streaks. Only then did I let out the breath I'd been holding. "We're not done," I said softly. "Not by a long shot." The jump transit lasted just under 2 minutes. 2 minutes of gut-wrenching uncertainty. The Leviathan was old tech in many ways, but her black drives were something else entirely. Experimental. Dangerous. I'd seen lesser ships tear themselves apart trying to stress them. But not her. The old beast held. When the stars snapped back into focus, we emerged near the rings of Neptune, our prearranged fallback point. The moment the engine cycled down, I stood from my command seat. "Status?" I called. Holt was already checking feeds. "Drive stable. Hull integrity at 96%. Shields regenerating. Strike wings returning. Light losses." "Casualties?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Holt exhaled. 7 pilots lost. 2 SAR beacons active. We'll dispatch recovery shuttles." I closed my eyes for a beat. 7 gone. It could have been worse. It should have been worse, given what we'd just pulled off. But even 1 man lost was too many when the fleet had so few left. "See to the wounded, and get those pilots back," I said quietly. "Aye, Captain." Across the bridge, the adrenaline was wearing off. Men and women sagged slightly in their seats, sweat on their faces, eyes bloodshot. But no one left their post. The high of battle was replaced with something else now, the cold realization of what we'd done. We had crippled an Imperial fleet. We had taken out the Valiant Star, a ship that no human vessel was ever meant to even scratch. And now the entire Empire would be gunning for us. I motioned Hawk to follow me as I stepped off the command dais and made my way to the war room adjacent to the bridge. The door hissed shut behind us. The room was dark, lit only by a central holo-projector showing a tactical map of Sol. Red markers where the Empire controlled every orbital station, every jump gate, every strategic point. Only a few flickering green dots remained, pockets of resistance, rogue cells, unaligned ships. We were alone in a graveyard. Hawk lit a smoke, leaning on the table. "Hell of a first run, Captain." I stared at the map. "We hurt them." He exhaled smoke through his nose. "Aye, but now they'll come hunting." "That was always going to happen," I said. "But now we're more than a rumor. Now they know Earth still fights." He studied me. "You thinking of going back in?" I looked up. "Not yet. We can't afford another head-on fight. They'll bring a battle group next time, maybe a full-sector fleet, and they'll sweep every outer system for us." "So what's the play?" I motioned to the scattered green dots. "Guerrilla strikes. Disruption. We move fast, hit their logistics, force them to spread thin. If we can keep them chasing shadows, we buy time for the resistance on Earth and the moons." Hawk grunted. "It's a long shot." "It's all we've got." A soft chime interrupted us. Holt's voice came over the comm. "Captain, urgent encrypted burst, priority 1. Looks like it's from Europa Resistance Command." I straightened. "Patch it through." A new holo flared up, a grainy image of a weathered old man in battered fleet uniform. Admiral Kessler, one of the few remaining fleet veterans who hadn't been captured or killed. His voice was rough. "Captain Drake, if you're hearing this, your assault was a damn miracle. The Empire's fleet is in chaos out here. We're holding Europa, for now, but new intel suggests they've dispatched an elite hunter group. Cloaked ships, fast, surgical. They're looking for you, and they've got orders to kill or capture at all costs." Hawk whistled low. Kessler continued. "Worse news. We've confirmed Empire troop landings on Luna. Civilians are being rounded up. Anyone suspected of aiding resistance is being executed. We need a diversion. Hit them again. Hit them hard enough to pull those bastards off the inner colonies. If we don't, Luna falls, and Earth won't be far behind." The message ended. I stood in silence for a long moment. Finally, I spoke. "Plot course for Luna Sector." Hawk raised an eyebrow. "Going right into the lion's den?" "They're slaughtering civilians," I said, voice like iron. "We can't stand off while that happens." He nodded slowly. "Aye, Captain." I keyed the intercom. "All hands, this is Drake. You fought like hell today. You've earned a break. But there's no rest coming yet. The Empire is moving on Luna. They're murdering our people. We're going in. We're going to make them bleed for every inch." A beat of silence, then a rising chorus of "Aye, Captain," across the channels. They were tired, bloodied, but ready, because for us, there was no going back. 6 hours later, we were ready. Leviathan had been patched and rearmed, her strike wings prepped. We'd burned dark through Neptune's shadow, plotted a series of erratic jump vectors to throw off trackers. Hawkeye met me in the ready room as we neared final burn. "We've picked up chatter," he said grimly. "Empire hunter-killers already in Sol. At least 2 ships, stealth class. No full profile, but they're fast. And nasty. Expected, I said. He handed me a data slate. Also, Kessler's intel package. Target priority. Imperial Forward Command Post on Luna. If we hit that, we cripple their operation. I studied the map. The Empire had established a fortified base near Shackleton Crater. Orbital defenses, heavy ground forces, probable shield generators. A tough nut to crack. But if we shattered that command post, we'd give the Luna Resistance breathing room, and we'd force the Empire to divert ships away from Earth. It'll be a knife fight, Hawk said quietly. I looked up. Then we sharpened the blade. An hour later, we made the final jump, dropping out of FTL deep in the lunar shadow, below normal orbital tracking planes. Stealth field engaged, Holt reported. No pings yet. Launch recon drones, I ordered. Through the hollow, we watched the tiny drones fan out, feeding us a grainy, fast-scanning picture of the battle space. The Empire's command post was formidable. Shield domes shimmering over the base, surface-to-orbit plasma cannons, dozens of troop carriers and gunships in orbit. But they didn't know we were here. Yet. Strike wings ready? I asked. Ford answered. Locked and loaded. Good, I said. Here's the plan. Phase 1. Precision bombardment to knock out shield generators. Phase 2. Fast strike wings hit command modules and AA. Phase 3. We finish it from orbit. And the hunters? Hawk asked. I smiled coldly. If they show themselves, we kill them. There was no bravado in my voice. Just simple fact. I wasn't about to let the bastards who had burned Earth's skies hunt us down like prey. I keyed the fleet-wide channel. This is Drake. You know the mission. Luna is under siege. Our people are dying. We will not let that stand. We hit fast, hit hard, and we do not stop until the Empire knows they cannot own our skies. The crew answered as one. Aye, Captain. Helm, I said quietly, eyes locked on the swirling tactical feed. Take us in. Leviathan began her slow burn toward low orbit, her massive guns powered up, cycling through targeting patterns. Our fighters launched, black shapes against the stars. Below, the Empire still slept, secure in their arrogance. They were about to wake up to hell. The tension on the bridge was like a taut wire ready to snap. Leviathan drifted in low orbit, her massive bulk masked by lunar shadow and active ECM. Below us, the Empire's command post gleamed with artificial lights against the cratered surface, arrogant, impregnable. Shield domes pulsed with power, covering everything from their comms arrays to the hardened troop barracks. I stood at the viewport, hands clasped behind my back, eyes locked on the swirling image feed. My crew worked in silence. No chatter, no wasted words. They knew the stakes. Civilians were being executed down there. Every second we waited was blood on our hands. Final targeting solution ready, Captain, Ford reported. Rail batteries aligned on shield junctions. Strike wings in position, Holt added, waiting for the word. I looked to Hawk. He met my gaze, then gave a slow nod. I took a breath. Open fire. The first rail salvo slammed into the command post's outer shields in perfect synchrony. 6 slugs traveling at near relativistic speeds, each targeted on critical shield nodes. The impact was immediate. Flaring distortions rippled across the protective domes. Shield attenuation at 15%, Ford called out. Recharging. Again, I ordered. The second salvo hit before their systems could fully cycle. This time we breached. One shield collapsed entirely, exposing a section of the base's comms and targeting centers. Strike wings, go, I snapped. Our fighters screamed in low, hugging the surface, flak and point defense fire chasing them. But they were fast, skilled. The first wave punched through, dropping precision munitions right onto exposed structures. Explosions ripped across the command post. Sensor arrays shredded, plasma batteries going dark. I watched through the tactical feed as the Empire's response scrambled. Gunships launched. Troop transports began emergency takeoff procedures. But they were disorganized, still reeling. We had surprise, and I intended to keep it. "Bring us lower," I ordered. "Prepare for direct bombardment." Holt's eyes widened slightly. "Captain, that'll bring us right into their heavy guns envelope." "They can't hit what's already inside their arcs," I said coldly. "We get in close. We gut them." Leviathan dropped into a brutal low-orbit pass, her massive drive screaming. The ship's inertial compensators strained under the stress, but the old beast held true. "Broadside batteries, fire for effect," I shouted. The ship's sides lit up, unleashing hell. Plasma lances and kinetic shells tore through the thinning defensive screen, punching deep into the heart of the Imperial base. The holofeed showed the results. Command towers collapsing, fuel depots erupting into firestorms, enemy armor columns shredded before they could deploy. But the cost was rising. "Enemy hunter-killers inbound," Holt warned suddenly. "Multiple stealth contacts closing fast, Vector 215. My blood went cold. The Empire's elite killers had found us. "How long?" "Less than 60 seconds to engagement." I keyed the fleet-wide channel. "All wings, break and engage. Prioritize hunter-killers." Then I turned to Ford. "Deploy countermeasures. Bring point defense online." "Aye, Captain." The first hunter-killer revealed itself in a flash of light. Sleek, black-hulled, no visible markings. It dropped out of cloak less than 10 kilometers off our port quarter, plasma bolts already firing. Leviathan shuddered under the hits, shields flaring dangerously close to critical. "Return fire!" I barked. Our turrets locked on, rail slugs and flak chasing the predator. The hunter was fast, too fast for a clean kill at this range, but we forced it to break off, damaged. Then the second hunter decloaked off our stern, trying for the engines. "Evasive," I snapped. The old ship groaned as the helm fought to pivot. Plasma fire licked across our aft shields, but Ford's countermeasures fired in perfect timing. Decoys and ECM disrupting the hunter's targeting. "Strike Wing Delta engaging second hunter," Holt reported. I watched as 4 of our best pilots dove straight into the fight, guns blazing. 2 went down in the first pass, cut apart by the hunter's point defense. But the other 2 pressed in, sacrificing everything for the kill. A torpedo struck home. The second hunter vanished in a blossom of plasma and debris. By now, the Empire's entire force was awake. More ships were lifting from Luna's surface. Heavy gunships, interceptors, troop carriers. The space above the moon was turning into a hornet's nest. "We can't hold this position much longer," Hawk said tightly. "They're vectoring half a battalion of gunships toward us." I looked back at the tactical map. The command post was crippled, fires raging across half the complex. But the final kill wasn't certain yet. I made the call. "Prepare main battery for focused strike. 1 shot. Target the central fusion core." Ford hesitated. "Captain, that'll overload the cannon coils." "It's worth it." He gritted his teeth. "Aye." The charge cycle felt like an eternity. Every moment, more enemy craft closed in. The bridge lights flickered under repeated impacts. Warnings screamed from half the consoles. But Leviathan wasn't done yet. "Main battery locked," Ford shouted. "Target acquired." I took a deep breath. "Fire!" The beam that lanced down wasn't elegant. It wasn't clean. It was raw, overdriven plasma, drawn straight from the ship's bleeding reactors. It tore through what remained of the Imperial command post, punched through the surface, deep into the buried fusion core. For a moment, nothing. Then the entire base erupted in a white-hot blast that lit up half the moon. On the tactical feed, Imperial forces scattered in chaos. Half their craft broke and ran. The rest struggled to regroup. I stood, fists clenched. "That's for the civilians," I said quietly, but we weren't out yet. Multiple new contacts inbound, Holt yelled. Heavy cruiser group, fast burning from Earth orbit, 10 minutes to intercept. I nodded grimly. Time to go. Extraction vector plotted, Hawk said. Signal all wings. Rally for withdrawal. The next 10 minutes were a brutal gauntlet. Enemy gunships harried us at every turn. Fighters darted in and out of flak bursts. Leviathan's hull was scorched, pitted, bleeding atmosphere from half a dozen compartments. But the ship held. The crew held. And as we finally cleared lunar orbit, the extraction drive spun up. Ready to jump, Holt confirmed. I gave the last order. Punch it. When the stars returned to normal, we were once again in deep system, drifting cold and dark to avoid immediate pursuit. I stood on the silent bridge, staring at the tactical feed. The Empire's base was gone. Their invasion of Luna was in chaos, and we had lived to fight another day. Later, in the quiet of my quarters, Hawk joined me. We poured 2 glasses of synth whiskey from an old pre-war bottle. To the dead, he said quietly, raising his glass. I nodded. And to the ones still worth fighting for. We drank in silence, because we both knew the war was far from over. Leviathan had blooded the Empire. Now they would come harder than ever, and we would be waiting. For 3 days, we ran silent. No beacons, no comm bursts, no active scans. After what we'd done at Luna, the Empire had flooded the system with patrols, fast cruisers, stealth frigates, recon drones, sweeping every orbital path from Mars to the Kuiper Belt. Leviathan drifted through the black on passive drives, hiding among the shattered wreckage of an old mining field. Every hour, we shifted position by micro-thrust, keeping our thermal profile cold. No one spoke much. Everyone on board knew we were now the target. The Empire couldn't let us live. We'd humiliated them, crippled the 7th Fleet, destroyed their command post on Luna, and given the resistance across Sol a beacon of hope. That wasn't something the Empire tolerated. I stood alone on the bridge most nights, staring out into the dark, watching for shadows, waiting for the knife. By the 4th day, we finally picked up a coded burst. Hawk brought it to me in the ready room, eyes dark with fatigue. It's from Kessler, he said quietly. He's alive, barely. He keyed the playback. Kessler's voice was rough, strained. Drake, listen. You need to know. Empire fleet elements are massing near Jupiter, not a standard battle group. This is worse. I'm hearing chatter about an Inquisitor-class ship. Hawk swore under his breath. I stayed stone-faced. Confirmed. Intel's shaky, Kessler rasped. But if it's true, you need to run. An Inquisitor isn't just a ship, it's a message. They'll burn every moon and station to smoke you out. The message ended in static. Inquisitor class. Even the name made hardened spacers pale. I'd never seen one in action. No one human had, not, and lived to talk about it. They weren't warships in the normal sense. They were execution platforms, designed not just to kill, but to terrorize. Rumors said they were commanded by the Empire's fanatics, crews brainwashed to absolute loyalty, no prisoners, no quarter. They mean to make an example of us, Hawk said grimly. I nodded. They'll turn the system inside out to find us. He lit a smoke with shaking fingers. We can't fight that head on. No, I agreed. But we can make them bleed for every meter they take. We called an emergency war council in the Leviathan's main briefing chamber. The senior officers gathered. Hawk, Holt, Ford, our chief engineer, our flight wing leader. A rough crew, drawn from every corner of the ruined fleet and resistance, but damn good at what they did. I brought up the tactical holo, flickering with grainy recon data. Here's the situation, I began. Empire forces massing near Jupiter. If the Inquisitor-class ship is real, they'll sweep outward from there. Our guess is they'll move in coordinated waves. Flush us from hiding. Force a decisive engagement. Ford growled. We won't survive a straight fight. We're not going to give them one, I said. We go mobile, hit and fade. Mine key transit lanes, ambush supply ships, draw their net wider. The more we spread them thin, the fewer ships they have to protect their core assets. The room was silent for a beat. Finally, Hawk spoke. And the endgame? I met his gaze. We find the Inquisitor, and we kill it. No one laughed. No one scoffed. They just nodded grimly. They knew it was suicide, but they also knew there was no other choice. The next week was a blur of guerrilla war. Leviathan moved through the system like a ghost, striking targets of opportunity. At Io, we ambushed an Empire fuel convoy, crippling 2 heavy tankers, leaving their escorts burning in space. Near Ceres, we mined the orbital lanes, forcing an entire Empire scout group to scatter in panic. Every hit drew more Empire forces away from the Jupiter massing point. But with each strike, the noose tightened. By the 9th day, the first direct contact came. An Empire recon frigate dropped out of cloak barely 5,000 clicks off our starboard flank. I was on the bridge when the alarms shrieked. Contact, Holt shouted. Bearing 095, cloak just dropped, launching drones. Battle stations, I ordered. Turn to engage. Leviathan heaved around, side batteries blazing. The first volley of rail slugs caught the frigate amidships, crumpling its forward section. But not before it got off a distress burst. Ford's face was grim. They know we're here, I keyed the channel. All hands. Prepare for rapid burn. We're moving. We jumped twice in quick succession, short, hard burns that strained the drive coils to the limit. But it wasn't enough. Holt reported grimly. Empire heavy elements closing fast. Multiple vectors. And then, the signal. A system-wide pulse, strong enough to punch through every ECM screen. The Inquisitor had arrived. We picked it up on deep scan an hour later. No normal ship. It was a black shape against the stars, monolithic, angular, bristling with weapons of unknown design. Jesus, Ford whispered. That thing's bigger than Leviathan. By a third, at least, Hawk said quietly. But size wasn't what chilled the blood. The transmission came next. A cold, mechanical voice broadcast on all channels. This is the Inquisitor Vox Dominus. You are marked for extermination. There is no escape. There is no surrender. All who shelter you will die. The bridge was silent. I stood slowly. They want fear, I said quietly. We give them fire. We had one shot. The Inquisitor moved like a beast, forcing all lanes toward Saturn. If it reached the inner colonies, resistance would shatter. We had to strike first. I laid out the plan. Mad. Desperate. But the only chance we had. We'd stage an ambush at the edge of the rings, use the debris and interference to mask our approach, plant mines, set traps, then lure Vox Dominus into range and hit it with everything we had. We won't get a second try, I told them. If this fails, we die, Hawk finished. I nodded, but if we succeed, we give humanity a future. Now, as I stand once more on Leviathan's bridge, the moment is near. We've mined the ring field. Fighters are in ambush positions. The crew is locked, loaded, ready. The Inquisitor is coming, its black hull burning toward us, sweeping space clear as it comes. This is it. I glance at Hawk. He grins tightly. Ready for round 3, Captain? I smile grimly. Always. The rings of Saturn were quiet. From the bridge of Leviathan, all we could see was darkness scattered with pale debris. Ice, rock, metal shards, the graveyard remnants of old mining operations. Perfect cover, if you knew how to use it. And we did. I stood at the forward station, eyes locked on the tactical feed. Our minds were live, layered in 3 bands across the approach vector. Fighters were cold and silent, hidden among the larger ice clusters. All batteries on Leviathan were charged and ready, but running on passive power to avoid detection. Hawk came up beside me. "They'll scan us the second they come out of the outer burn." I nodded. "They'll be looking for an easy kill. We give them hell instead." 10 minutes passed, then 20. Tension wound tighter with every second. Crew barely breathed. Every screen, every scanner, every eye on the black ahead. Then Holt spoke. Soft, cold. "Contact." The Inquisitor Vox Dominus emerged from the void like a predator. No jump flash, no warning, just a black shape sliding through the ring plane, escorted by a phalanx of Empire stealth frigates. "Size confirmed," Holt said grimly. 4 kilometers, composite hull, unidentified energy signatures. I studied the feed. The thing wasn't a ship. It was a weapon. Its hull bristled with unfamiliar turrets, strange crystalline arrays pulsing with dark light. Along its flanks, execution barges, ships meant for planetary bombardment and mass civilian extermination. The Empire hadn't sent it to fight us. They'd sent it to wipe us, and anyone who helped us, from existence. I keyed the ship-wide channel. "This is Captain Drake. We have eyes on Vox Dominus. No retreat, no surrender. We hit them here, or we die. For Earth, for Luna, for every life they've crushed." Across the comms, a chorus answered. "Aye, Captain." The trap was set. Now it was time to spring it. The Inquisitor advanced, slow, deliberate, arrogant. Its escorts fanned out, scanning the ring field, weapons powered but not yet firing. "They think we're running," Hawk murmured. "Good," I said. At the exact moment Vox Dominus crossed the first mine band, I gave the order. "Detonate." The ring field lit up with fury. Dozens of mines triggered at once. Kinetic shockwaves, EMP bursts, plasma charges ripping through the Inquisitor's flank and its nearest escorts. 2 stealth frigates vaporized instantly. The Vox Dominus shuddered, shield flares cascading across its hull. But it held. "Shields at 80%, Holt reported. "They're cycling fast." I nodded grimly. "Phase 2. Fighters, engage." Our wings burst from cover, a black swarm of fury. Missiles, rail slugs, torpedoes, all targeted on the Inquisitor's forward array and sensor banks. The first wave struck true. 3 of the forward arrays shattered, leaving glowing craters. But the Inquisitor responded with something new. A ripple of dark energy surged across its hull. Suddenly, dozens of crystalline turrets pivoted and unleashed beam lances. Not plasma, not laser, something worse. Coherent graviton streams. The first beam cut through an entire fighter wing in a blink. No explosion, just sudden collapse into dust. Hawk swore. "Jesus, what is that?" "Unknown tech," Holt said, voice tight. "Shields useless, hulls too." I clenched my fists. "We adapt. Wing 2, switch to flanking runs, target engines, keep moving." Leviathan powered up, breaking cover. "All batteries, fire," I ordered. Our railguns and plasma lances roared, massive salvos slamming into Vox Dominus's starboard side. This time, the Inquisitor flinched, shield nodes sparking under the assault. But then it turned, slow but deliberate, bringing its forward batteries to bear on us. "Brace for impact," Holt shouted. The first barrage struck like a hammer. Leviathan rocked under the assault. Shields buckling, warning sirens screaming. "Shields at 60%, Holt called. "Maintain fire," I snapped. "We break its shields, we have a chance." Then it got worse. Vox Dominus launched boarding torpedoes. Dozens of sleek pods arced toward us, aimed for our ventral hull. "They mean to gut us from inside," Hawk growled. I keyed internal comms. "All hands, prepare for boarders. Lock down all decks past Section 12. Marines to defensive stations." The first pods impacted, deep tremors shaking the hull. Boarding alarms, decks 5 through 8, Holt reported. I looked at Hawk. You have the bridge. He nodded. I grabbed my sidearm and sprinted for the lift. Deck 5 was chaos. Empire shock troopers, black-armored, no insignia, flooded the corridors. Our Marines were dug in behind makeshift barricades, exchanging brutal close-quarters fire. I joined the line without hesitation, took down 2 boarders with clean shots to the visor. "Hold the line!" I shouted. "No fallback!" Room by room, corridor by corridor, we fought. I lost track of time, of wounds, of pain, just the raw fight, the need to hold. Bodies piled, the air stank of burned circuits and blood. Finally, detonation charges cleared the last boarding team. Hawk's voice came over comms. "Captain, shields are almost down, but their primary engines are exposed." I wiped blood from my face. "On my way." Back on the bridge, the sight was grim. Leviathan was bleeding, hull scorched, systems damaged, but still fighting, and the Inquisitor, its shields were flickering. Exposed engine vents glowed like targets. "Now," I said, "full salvo, all batteries, target those vents." The last barrage was everything we had. Rail slugs, plasma bursts, overcharged main cannon. Vox Dominus shuddered. Then a vent ruptured. A chain reaction rippled down its spine, internal explosions tearing through its heart. I watched coldly as the monster fractured, not gone, not dead, but wounded, bleeding, and retreating. "Captain, they're pulling back!" Holt shouted. "Empire escorts in full withdrawal!" I exhaled slowly. We weren't dead. We had survived, and Vox Dominus, the great terror of the Empire, was running. Later, in the quiet aftermath, I stood alone on the battered bridge. Leviathan was scarred, her crew exhausted but alive. Hawk limped up beside me. "Not bad for a dead planet's last ship," he said with a tired grin. I met his gaze. "We're not done," I said quietly. "Not until the Empire falls." He nodded, and in the dark, Leviathan turned her battered prow once more towards the stars. 3 days after the battle, we were still picking up the pieces. Leviathan limped through deep space, far beyond Saturn's orbit now, a graveyard orbit designed to buy us time. No comm bursts, no pings, silent running. The ship was a wreck, but alive. Hull fractures patched with emergency plating, half the outer batteries offline. Engineering crews worked in shifts around the clock to keep the reactors from overloading. But it was the crew I worried about most. Tired eyes, slumped shoulders, men and women running on adrenaline and stubborn pride alone. We had struck a blow, damaged an Inquisitor, something no one had ever done. But the cost had been brutal. We'd lost 17 pilots, half a strike wing, nearly 24 dead from the boarding action, more wounded, and the fight wasn't over. I stood alone in the observation blister off the bridge, staring at the black beyond the viewport. The enemy wasn't retreating. Far from it. Our long-range passive scans had already picked up movement. Empire reinforcements pouring into Sol, full fleet groups this time. Dreadnoughts, carriers, escorts, and worst of all, Vox Dominus had vanished from scans, not destroyed, just gone, hiding, healing, and hunting. Hawk found me there, 2 mugs of synthcaf in hand. "You look like hell," he said, handing me one. I took it. "Speak for yourself." We drank in silence for a moment, watching the dead stars. Finally, he spoke. "They're coming, you know." "I know." "You think Kessler can hold them back?" I shook my head. "Europa's in ruins. Luna's barely holding. Earth's bunkers are sealed, but it's only a matter of time." I set the mug down, voice low. "This isn't just about us anymore. The Empire wants to finish it, break humanity once and for all." Hawk's face darkened. "And they'll start with Leviathan." I nodded. We're the symbol now, the one ship they couldn't kill. As long as we fight, the resistance breathes." He gave a grim smile. "Then we give them one hell of a fight." That was when the encrypted burst came in. Holt rushed to the blister, slate in hand. "Captain, priority message. Source, resistance cells near Mars, eyes only." I keyed it open. The message was brief, blunt. "Critical intelligence recovered. Empire preparing final purge. Full extermination fleet inbound, Earth target. Time to contact, 4 days." 4 days. I stared at the holomap in the war room later that cycle. The markers were grim. 3 fleet groups inbound, combined strength we couldn't match. And behind them, almost certainly, Vox Dominus. "They mean to burn Earth," Holt said quietly. "Just like the old threat broadcasts promised." "No," Hawk said. "This time they'll do it. They can't afford not to, after what we did." Ford scowled. "We can't stop that kind of force." I nodded. "Not head on." I stood slowly, looking at each officer in turn. "We don't stop them by fighting their fleet." I pointed at the holo, the center of the formation. "We stop them by cutting off the head." The plan was madness. Everyone knew it. But it was the only shot we had. Vox Dominus wasn't just a warship. It was the command nexus now, coordinating the extermination fleet. Without it, the entire force would slow, lose cohesion, buy Earth time. So we'd strike it before it reached Earth orbit, a deep penetration run, 1 ship, 1 crew, against the Empire's worst. For 3 days, we prepped. Repairs pushed to the limit, emergency armor plating, new ECM suites jury-rigged from spare parts. Every man and woman on board knew the odds. No illusions. Hawk said it best the night before we launched. "This is a one-way run." I didn't argue. I just looked them all in the eye. "We're humanity's last blade," I said. "We cut deep, or we die trying." Then came the final jump. Leviathan burned hard for the inner system. We'd tracked Vox Dominus, last spotted near the asteroid belt, massing for its final push. Our window was razor thin. By the time we reached intercept range, the enemy fleet was already forming up. Massive formations, cruisers, carriers, assault transports, and at the heart, the black shape of the Inquisitor, whole again, repaired, stronger. The approach was brutal. Empire scouts swept the outer belt. We ran cold, threading through debris fields and rock clouds. Every kilometer, another risk. By the time we reached final range, our outer hull was scored and battered. We'd burned through half our ECM pods just to stay hidden. But we were there, in strike range. Now, on the bridge, every eye was locked on the tactical holo. Vox Dominus was ahead, shields up, escorts tight. No weakness, yet. I looked to Hawk. "You ready?" He grinned. "Born ready?" I keyed ship-wide comms. "This is it. Final run. No fallback, no surrender." Across the ship the reply came. Tired voices, hard-edged. "Aye, Captain!" I gave the order. "Attack! Run!" Leviathan roared to life, drives flaring, shields rising, weapons hot. We plunged into the fray. Escorts turned, weapons firing, plasma lances, missile swarms. Shields flared, hull trembled. But we pressed in, straight toward Vox Dominus. "Main batteries, target primary shield nodes," I ordered. Ford's gunners unleashed hell. Rail slugs hammered the Inquisitor's flanks. Shield flares rippled, cascading. Not enough. Yet. Then the counterstrike came. Vox Dominus unleashed its beam lances again, graviton streams slicing through space. One beam raked across Leviathan's starboard hull, tearing plating, venting atmosphere. "Shields down to 40%, Holt shouted. "Maintain course," I snapped. We closed to knife fight range, less than 50 kilometers, suicide distance. But that's where we had to be. I keyed engineering. Overcharge main cannon. Prepare for one final shot. Hawk's eyes widened. You'll blow the coil. I nodded. I know. He grinned fiercely. Hell of a way to go. We barreled in, battering through the escort screen. Secondary batteries shredded frigates. Fighters dove in alongside us, kamikaze runs. Then, final range. Ford shouted, "Main cannon ready!" I gave the last order. Fire! The shot was blinding. A searing beam, raw plasma, overcharged beyond design. It struck dead center, the Inquisitor's command core. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then the core detonated. Vox Dominus cracked, an expanding firestorm tearing through its length. Shields failed. Hull broke apart. The black terror of the Empire, undone. But the blast wave caught us. Leviathan tumbled, hull burning, systems failing. I remember gripping the command rail. Fire, alarms, screaming metal. Then, darkness. When I woke, I was in the med bay. Half the ship was gone. Casualties heavy. But we'd done it. Vox Dominus was destroyed. And the extermination fleet, leaderless, scattered. Earth was safe, for now. Later, on the shattered bridge, I stood with Hawk. We looked out at the wreckage, drifting in the void. He grinned through bloodied lips. Hell of a fight, I nodded. It's not over. He laughed hoarsely. Of course not. And in the black, the battered Leviathan turned once more, toward the next battle. It took us 5 days to crawl out of the wreckage zone. Leviathan was barely a ship anymore. Half her decks gutted, engines crippled, life support running on backup systems. Hull breaches sealed with scavenged plating and sheer will. We had maybe 30% of the crew still on their feet, and most of those were walking wounded. But we were alive. And Vox Dominus was gone. Word was already spreading, resistance bands across the system picking up the news. The Inquisitor destroyed, the extermination fleet broken, Earth spared, for now, but none of us were celebrating. Not yet, because the war wasn't finished. I stood on what was left of the bridge, patched wiring snaking across the scorched deck, smoke still clinging to the air. Hawk limped in, bandage across his side, eyes bloodshot. "Intercept from Kessler," he said, handing me a battered slate. I keyed it open. The Admiral's voice was ragged, desperate. "Drake, Empire's not pulling back. They're regrouping. New command elements moving in. Core loyalist fleet, fanatics. They won't stop. You have one shot left. Find their command ship, take it out, or Earth burns anyway." Hawk exhaled slowly. "They just keep coming." I nodded grimly. We expected this. I looked at the holomap. Half the markers now stale, outdated. But one thing was clear. The Empire wasn't retreating. They were throwing everything in now, one last purge. And if they established a new command nexus, if they stabilized the fleet, we'd lose our window. We had one more blade to drive home. I called a ship-wide assembly. What was left of the crew gathered in the battered hangar bay, stripped of fighters now, just scorched metal and smoke-stained walls. I stood on a crate, voice steady despite the exhaustion clawing at my bones. "You know what we've done?" I said. "We crippled the Inquisitor. We bought Earth time. But it's not enough." I swept the room with my gaze. "They're coming again. New command fleet. And if they lock it down, it's over." I let that hang in the air. "We have one shot left, one last strike. We take out their new flagship, the heart of their command net. If we don't, there won't be a second chance." Silence. Then Holt's voice, hoarse but steady. "We're with you, Captain." A ragged chorus followed. "Aye, Captain." We worked through the night, stripping systems, rerouting power, jury-rigging weapons. The ship was a wreck, but still had claws. Our last target, ISS Imperator, the Empire's new command dreadnought. larger even than Vox Dominus, but lacking the Inquisitor's exotic tech. Brutal, efficient, vulnerable if we got close. It was massing near Earth's Lagrange point, final staging for the next assault. If we struck first, before their fleet fully coordinated, we could shatter it. The jump was suicide. Leviathan could barely manage a short burn, let alone a deep system insertion. Drive coils on the edge of failure. Navigation systems blind in places. But there was no choice. Hawk looked at me as we prepped for final jump. "You sure about this, Captain?" I smiled grimly. "No." He laughed, dry, ragged. "Good. Be a damn shame to die on a sure thing." We jumped at dawn. The stars bent, the battered ship shuddering through the breach. When we emerged, alarms screamed. ISS Imperator was there, monstrous, gleaming in the void, escorts already fanning out. They saw us the second we arrived. No surprise this time, just war. "Battle stations," I shouted. Leviathan turned hard, limping on half-thrusters, shields flickering. Our guns opened first, rail slugs punching into escort corvettes, scattering their screen. But it was the Imperator we wanted. We drove straight at it, through plasma storms, missile clouds, beam lances. Decks shook, fires raged, crew fought to keep systems online. But we pressed in. Then came the counterblow. A broadside from Imperator smashed into our starboard, blasting open 3 decks, venting bodies into the void. "Casualties," Holt shouted. "Multiple hull breaches." "Maintain course," I barked. We reached knife fight range, less than 20 kilometers. I keyed the command net. "All hands, prepare for ramming run. We breach that hull." Hawk's grin was savage. "Hell of a plan." I looked at him. "Last one we've got." Leviathan roared forward, battered, broken, but defiant. We slammed into Imperator's port flank, plasma-cutting beams firing point blank. Then the breach pods launched, our last Marines storming into the enemy ship. I went with them. The fight inside was madness. Close quarters, smoke, blood, Empire troopers everywhere, fanatics armed to the teeth. But our Marines didn't break. Room by room, we fought, toward the command core. By the time we reached the final deck, half our force was down. I kicked through a ruined blast door, sidearms smoking. And there it was, the command nexus. I didn't hesitate. I planted the last fusion charges myself, fingers bloody, breaths ragged. As I keyed the timer, Hawk stumbled in beside me. He looked at the core, then at me. "Well," he rasped, "guess this is it." I smiled faintly. "Number this is their end." We fought our way back to the breach point, alarms howling, bulkheads collapsing. I didn't expect to make it, but somehow, we got clear. The last shuttle blasted off just as the charges blew. From Leviathan's ruined bridge, we watched it. ISS Imperator, the heart of the fleet, erupted in a sunburst of fire. Gone. Across the HoloNet, enemy signals fractured. Empire comms broke apart. Disarray, panic. Their assault stalled, scattered, and Earth lived. Later, drifting in the black, Hawk sat beside me, bandaged, burned, grinning like a devil. "Hell of a war," he said. I nodded, voice rough. "Not over yet." He laughed hoarsely. "But we gave him something to remember." And out there, in the dark, the battered wreck of Leviathan turned once more toward home. Not whole, not victorious, but still fighting. Because as long as one ship remained, Earth would never kneel.